Okay, so today we've got this beautiful 1983 Husqvarna 250cr, and I did a bit of work to this last year, and I got a phone call to say that they were having problems with the gearbox. It wouldn't go in or out of gear, and when they brought it over, the back wheel were locked up, and when you pulled the clutch in, it wouldn't do anything. So it was still locked up. Anyway, I put it away for a bit and then got it out last weekend, and yeah, proper weird. Couldn't get the clutch to engage, disengage, or anything like that, and a bit of a problem. Anyway, so I took the clutch cover off, and then I found inside the clutch housing, clutch all looked fine, but I found this. So this is the selector, part of the selector mechanism on this Husky, and it was in pieces. So you've got this selector here, which goes here, and these teeth at the bottom, they turn the shifter drum, the selector drum, and anyway, that, although it's slightly worn, that looks okay. And then this arm here basically has a spring on it which pulls the selector backwards and forwards. So as you change gear, then this will pull it back into the central point. But then the clutch was locked up because there was a piece of this that was in the way of the clutch, so preventing the clutch from moving. So that's why the back wheel was locked up, and why the clutch didn't engage or disengage. So anyway, so I've got a new arm here, but what I couldn't get was this bush. So I'm just going to make a new bush out of brass. So it's an 8mm outer diameter. So this was copper originally. I haven't got any copper. I have got brass. Brass will be a great material for this, perfect for it. So it's 8mm outer diameter, 6mm inner diameter, and it needs to spin. It needs to be slightly wider than this arm here, so that this arm can move backwards and forwards freely, and it needs to what am I saying? Yeah, it needs to spin, so that this arm here can, like I say, move backwards and forwards. So slightly wider, so that when you tighten the bolt up with the washers, that it's not gonna hold this in a static position. So there we go. So I'm just gonna make that new bush on the lathe. It won't take me long. I'm not going to video that, to be honest. And then we can get started with putting it back together. And I'm glad that my son's old pyjama shorts have come in handy for this to put our bits and pieces on. There we go, so we made the little brass bush, so this arm is now attached as it should be. I mean, I don't like the design really, the kickstart idler gear is so close to that arm, it's unbelievable. I suppose it shouldn't ever be going up that high to touch that, and then it sits right behind the clutch basket as well, so I don't like that either. The bush is obviously inside there on the back of that arm. I've actually made the bush slightly thinner, so it is a tighter spacing than the copper one that was on originally. So I've made it 4mm, so there's like a 0.5mm clearance each side. Whereas the copper one, I measured at 4.5, so, you know. And then I've Loctited that bolt in there, and then we've obviously got the washer on either side. And so that is kind of as good as it's going to be, really. I'll get this spring on here now, so that'll pull both of these selector mechanisms together. So that should be as good as it can be. I've bought new clutch plates for it, and then so we'll stick them in, and we'll get the kickstart gear in, and then we'll put the clutch in, and then it does need a bit of a clean out. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to run it in diesel first of all, and then also you'll see this pit in here on the crankcase, which I've seen on this particular bike before. It's the centre ones that I did last time. I took the stator side off because there was some damage to that, which I repaired. So this side here I've not actually had off, but yeah, what I'm going to do, because I've got a brand new gasket which is quite thick, I'm going to cover that in Vaseline, which I normally do. Vaseline, petroleum jelly, whatever you want to use. Yeah, so I'm going to cover that in Vaseline, and then I'm going to tighten it up, and I'm just going to check and see if there is any oil leaks. If there is oil leaks, I'll have to take it back off, clean it back off, and then we'll have to use a bit of sealant. But I don't really want to use sealant. I don't like using sealant on clutch sides because they are something that you do take off more regular. So anyway, so that's what I'm going to do there. Hopefully that'll just be a bit of an easy job, and there will be no leaks, and I won't have to take it back off again, and then we'll be able to put it back together. Like I say, I'm going to run it in diesel. I've got a new pipe for it as well because there's some holes in the header. So we're going to, and it's had a big repair in the past, so I suspect it's not the best. I mean, look, there's a massive step there. So yeah, this part of the pipe is really thin. So new pipe for it. So we'll get that on, and then hopefully all the gearbox issues will be sorted, and then we just need to look at a bit of the jetting then. So happy days. There we go. So she's all back together. So like I say, I'm just checking at the minute to see whether there is any leaks from the clutch cover, because that might need to come off. If it does, because then we'll just have to seal it up somehow due to the pitting on the crankcases. So I've put the new pipe on, which looks great, and I'm sure it'll be better than the other one. I don't think the other one was even the right pipe. It was really difficult to get on and off, whereas this one's just fitted perfect. And it did get in the way of the spark plug as well. So maybe it was just the wrong pipe. And one of the things I've got to look at on this bike is the jetting. So maybe the pipe was wrong. So we'll find out about that shortly. But yeah, so the main thing was the gearbox. So we're all back together now. So obviously I showed you what I was doing. So we're in neutral here, down into first, up into second, fourth, fifth, and sixth. Back down fifth, fourth, third, second, and neutral, and back down into first. Check. So she's all selected perfectly, and obviously that's all working right. Just new clutch plates in there. I've adjusted the clutch up, so that's gonna be better too. And we've got some diesel in the instead of gearbox oil because it was quite nasty and dirty in there. So we're just going to run that for a bit with the diesel in, so not very long, like 5 minutes. So, and then empty that out, and then I'll replace that then with ATF, which is my preferred gearbox oil. Massive discussions about that, obviously, people have, but yeah, my favourite is ATF. I've run it for years and years and years and years and years, and never have any problems, and I just think it's the right thing. Lasts well, cheap, and you know, what more can you say? So there we go. She looks as though she's done, so I'm going to fire her up, and then we'll I'll do those checks, and I'll put a video of her running. And I've got another bike to get ready now because we're going biking tomorrow. So I'll get that other bike ready, and then I'll do another video of this after that. hopefully you can see there, she is dripping from the clutch cover, so that cover's going to need to come back off, and we'll have to do a bit of work with a bit of sealant. So I'm not going to do that right now. She sounds flipping mega, and all the gears are working and the clutch is working, so that's all good. That's what we were after. So I'll just move this out of the way, because like I say, I've got to get a bike ready for tomorrow. That's not been looked at since last year, so you know, just got to sort our priorities out a little bit. So yeah, we'll move this off the bench, and then what I'll do is I'll get that clutch cover back off, do that little bit of work with the sealant and stuff, and then go from there. But all happy days.